Close your eyes for just a second and imagine this. You wake up on a Monday morning, your alarm clock is screaming, you drag yourself out of bed, rush to work, sit in traffic, and spend 8, maybe 10 hours making someone else rich. And when you finally get that paycheck, most of it's already gone. Rent, bills, loans, taxes. Now let me ask you, is that really freedom? See, most of us were taught the exact same formula. Go to school, get good grades, find a safe job, and you'll be set for life. But here's the truth no one told you. That formula is broken. And if you keep following it, you'll end up stuck in the rat race forever. But what if I told you there's another way? Chapter 1. 2 dads, 2 mindsets. When Robert was a kid growing up in Hawaii, he had 2 father figures. His real dad, the poor dad, was highly educated, hardworking, and believed in job security. He'd say things like, "Son, get good grades, find a safe career, and you'll be fine." Then there was his best friend's father, the rich dad. This guy didn't have a college degree, but he owned businesses and understood how money really works. Here's the crazy part. Both men were smart. Both worked hard. But one spent his life working for money, while the other figured out how to make money work for him. That's the fork in the road you and I face every single day. Do we follow the path of security, or do we follow the path of freedom? Let me ask you, which path are you on right now? Most people think the secure path is the safe bet. Go to college, land a job, climb the ladder. But Robert's poor dad, who followed that exact path, still struggled financially his whole life. Meanwhile, rich dad, the guy without the degree, built wealth and taught Robert the mindset of freedom. So here's the truth. The biggest difference between the rich and the poor isn't money, it's mindset. Poor dad said, "I can't afford this." Rich dad asked, "How can I afford this?" One shuts the door, the other opens it. Chapter 2. The Rat Race. Let's talk about the rat race. You know it, I know it. Wake up, go to work, pay bills, repeat. And the wild part? Most people spend their entire lives running on that wheel. Here's how it works. You get a raise, right? But instead of freeing you, it locks you in deeper, because now you've got a bigger car payment, a bigger mortgage, nicer vacations. That raise doesn't give you freedom. It just upgrades your hamster wheel. Poor dad believed education and a safe job were the way out. But rich dad laughed and said, "Jobs are a short-term solution to a long-term problem." Think about that for a second. A job can feed you today, but will it feed you tomorrow? Will it protect you when you're old or laid off or replaced by AI? That's why rich dad taught Robert to escape the rat race by building assets. Because assets put money in your pocket even when you're not working. Liabilities, they suck money out. And here's the sad truth. Most Americans spend their whole lives stacking liabilities they think are assets. You ever see someone making 6 figures but always broke? That's because they're piling up liabilities. Fancy cars, oversized houses, maxed out credit cards. They look rich, but they're trapped. Meanwhile, somebody else making less money but stacking assets quietly becomes wealthy. And one day, boom, they're free. So remember this, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep and how hard your money works for you. Chapter 3. Why teach financial literacy? Now here's the million-dollar question. Why didn't we learn this in school? Think back to your own education. Did anyone ever teach you how to read a balance sheet? How to invest? How to build wealth? No. You learned algebra, Shakespeare, photosynthesis. Important, sure, but not the skills that actually decide whether you'll struggle financially or thrive. And there's a reason for that. The school system was built in the industrial age to prepare workers, not owners, employees, not entrepreneurs. That system taught you how to be a good worker bee, not how to own the hive. Rich Dad drilled this into Robert. Financial literacy is the foundation. If you don't understand assets, liabilities, and cash flow, money will always control you. Here's the rule. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. And yet the middle class confuses the two every day. A new car? Liability. A big house with no rental income? Liability. Stocks that pay dividends? Asset. A rental property that cash flows every month? Asset. It's simple. But the difference between a rich and poor comes down to who actually applies it. You ever notice how someone can win the lottery, make millions, and be broke again in 5 years? That's a lack of financial literacy. And on the flip side, you'll see someone who earns modestly, but because they understand assets and liabilities, they slowly build real wealth. Financial literacy isn't about how smart you are. It's about whether you learn the rules of the money game. And the rich? They play a different game than the rest of us. Chapter 4. Mind your own business. Now this one's going to sting a little, but it's the truth. Rich Dad said, "The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them." And here's the kicker. They also mind their own business. Most people spend their entire lives building someone else's dream. They grind away, working for a boss, putting in overtime, praying for that bonus. But the sad truth, all that effort just makes someone else rich. Rich Dad's advice was simple. Build your own asset column. Don't just spend your whole life climbing the corporate ladder. Own the ladder. Now don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean quit your job tomorrow. It means while you're working that 9 to 5, you should also be building your business on the side. That could be real estate, stocks, a small business, heck, even a YouTube channel. Anything that puts money in your pocket without you trading hours for it. And here's the golden line. The rich focus on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements. Translation, poor dad would ask, "How much did I make this month?" Rich Dad asked, "How much did my money make me this month?" Big difference. And here's a tough truth. If you don't own assets, you are somebody else's asset. Your time, your energy, your talent, all of it is making someone else rich. And that's okay for now, as long as you realize it's not the end game. The end game is freedom. And freedom comes when you mind your own business, when you own assets that work for you. Chapter 5. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. Let me hit you with a curveball. Taxes. Yeah, I know. Nobody likes talking about taxes. But Rich Dad always said if you don't understand them, they'll eat you alive. Here's the deal. Taxes were originally sold to the people as a way to make the rich pay their fair share. Sounds great, right? But here's the twist. Over time, the middle class became the real target. Think about your paycheck. Uncle Sam takes his cut before you even touch it. Federal, state, Social Security, Medicare. The list goes on. By the time you get paid, the government has already feasted on your hard work. But here's where the rich play a completely different game. They use corporations. See, a corporation isn't just a building or some big company on Wall Street. It's a legal entity that protects the rich and gives them massive tax advantages. Here's how the rich do it. Employees work, get taxed, spend what's left. The rich earn through corporations, spend, then pay taxes on what's left. You see the difference? The order of operations changes everything. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich create systems where money works for them and where taxes don't crush them in the process. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds unfair. And you're right. But Rich Dad would say, don't get mad, get educated. Learn the rules of the game, because the game isn't going away. Here's a little truth bomb. The rich don't pay fewer taxes because they're greedy. They pay fewer taxes because they understand the rules. Rules written by lawmakers who also use corporations. And if you're sitting there angry about it, ask yourself, would you rather complain about the rules, or would you rather learn to play by them? Chapter 6. The rich invent money. Now this is where things get exciting. Rich Dad always said, the rich invent money. What does that mean? It means opportunities are everywhere, but only for the people who are trained to see them. Most people only see problems. A recession hits and the poor panic. The middle class cut back on spending, but the rich, They look for bargains. They see discounted stocks, cheap real estate, undervalued businesses. To the average person, that's risky. To the rich, it's opportunity. Here's the truth. Money isn't real. It's an idea, a concept, and those who understand the game can create wealth out of thin air by spotting opportunities and taking action. That's why financial education matters so much, because the more you know, the less you fear. Think about it. Someone who doesn't understand investing sees the stock market crash and thinks, I'm ruined. Someone who understands it thinks, this is my moment. Same event, two completely different outcomes. You ever hear the phrase, it takes money to make money? Rich Dad would laugh at that. He'd say, no, it takes knowledge to make money, because the right idea, the right opportunity, the right strategy can turn a small amount into a fortune. And those opportunities, they're all around us. Most people just aren't trained to see them. Chapter 7. Work to learn, don't work for money. Okay, lean in here because this is one of the biggest mindset shifts Rich Dad taught. He said, the rich don't work for money. They work to learn. And that sounds wild, right? Because most people were raised to think the whole point of a job is the paycheck. But Rich Dad flipped that thinking on its head. Here's what he meant. When you're young, or even when you're switching careers, don't chase the highest paying job. Instead, chase the job that teaches you the most valuable skills. Robert saw this firsthand. He noticed people who were stuck in the same job year after year, becoming experts at just one narrow skill. Sure, they got comfortable, but they weren't growing. They weren't learning. Meanwhile, Rich Dad pushed him to try different roles. Sales, marketing, investing, even running small businesses. Why? Because every skill he picked up was another tool in his financial toolbox. Think about it. A lot of Americans hate the idea of sales, but Rich Dad knew that if you can't sell, whether it's a product, an idea, or yourself, your opportunities shrink. So instead of asking, how much does this job pay? Rich Dad asked, what will I learn here that I can use to build wealth later? That's the mindset shift. Don't just work for money, work for skills, work for experience, work for knowledge. You know what keeps people broke? Ego. They say, that job's beneath me, or I don't want to start at the bottom. But here's the truth. The more skills you stack, the more doors open. And once you own those skills, nobody can take them away. That's real wealth. Chapter 8. Overcoming obstacles. All right, let's get brutally honest here. Even if you know the difference between assets and liabilities, even if you've got financial literacy, even if you've got the skills, there's still something that might hold you back. Yourself. See, Rich Dad said the biggest obstacles to wealth aren't taxes or the economy or bad luck. The biggest obstacles are inside us. Fear, doubt, laziness, bad habits, ego. Let's break that down. Fear. Most people never invest because they're scared of losing. They cling to job security even when it's an illusion. But here's the thing. Fear of losing keeps you from winning. The rich lose all the time, but they learn, adjust, and come back stronger. Cynicism. You know the voice that says, that'll never work, or it's too risky, or I'm too old to start? That voice kills more dreams than failure ever will. Laziness. Not the kind where you're lying on the couch binge watching Netflix. The subtle laziness where you say, I'm too busy. That's a cover-up. The rich find time to build assets because they know it matters. Bad habits. Most people pay themselves last, and they cover bills, expenses, fun, and if anything's left, they save. Rich Dad flipped it. Always pay yourself first. Put money into your assets before anything else. Then let the pressure of bills push you to earn more. Ego. Sometimes the worst enemy is thinking you already know it all. Rich Dad used to say, every time you're arrogant, you close the door to learning. The rich stay humble enough to keep learning. Here's the gut punch. If you don't control your emotions, money will control you. Fear will keep you stuck. Ego will blind you. Laziness will rob you. But if you can master yourself, wealth becomes almost inevitable. During Chapter 9, Getting Started. All right, so at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Assets, liabilities, mindset, financial literacy, but where do I actually start? That's the golden question, because information without action is just wasted potential. Rich Dad gave Robert a simple roadmap, and I'm going to lay it out for you right now. Step 1, pay yourself first. This means before you pay bills, before you buy groceries, before you do anything, you put money into your asset column, savings, investments, real estate fund, whatever you're building. You pay you first. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but that's the point. That pressure forces you to get creative and earn more. Step 2, invest in education. And I don't mean college. I mean financial education. Read books, take courses, find mentors, join communities. Learn about real estate, stocks, businesses. The more you know, the more opportunities you'll see. Step 3, start small. Don't wait for the perfect big opportunity. Start with something manageable. Buy a few shares of stock, invest in a small side hustle, test out real estate with a small rental. Action is the best teacher. Step 4, build a team. The rich don't do it alone. They have accountants, lawyers, mentors, partners. Don't be afraid to lean on others' expertise. Remember, business and investing are team sports. Step 5, stay consistent. Wealth isn't built overnight. It's built through steady, consistent action over years. Most people quit too soon. The rich stick it out. You want to know the biggest difference between someone who dreams about wealth and someone who achieves it? One starts. The other keeps waiting. So the question is, are you going to wait for the right time, or are you going to start today with what you've got? Chapter 10. The Power of Mentors. Here's something Rich Dad hammered home. Don't try to figure it all out alone. In America, we love the idea of the self-made millionaire. But if you peel back the curtain, almost every success story has mentors behind it. Coaches, advisors, experienced people who've been where you want to go. Robert had Rich Dad. That was his secret weapon. Someone to guide him, challenge him, and call him out when he was thinking small. So ask yourself, who's in your corner? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. The rich know this. They seek out mentors, join masterminds, pay for coaching, buy into rooms where they're the dumbest person in the room, because that's how you grow. Poor Dad believed in formal education. Rich Dad believed in financial education, and mentors were a big part of that. You ever notice how pro athletes always have coaches? Even at the top of their game, they don't go it alone. So why do we think we can navigate money, business, and life without guidance? Mentorship isn't a luxury, it's leverage. Chapter 11, Why Fear of Criticism Keeps People Broke. All right, let's get raw for a second. One of the sneakiest things that keeps people broke isn't fear of failure. It's fear of what other people think. Robert remembered when he started talking about real estate investing. People laughed. His friends said, "That's risky, you'll lose your shirt." His poor dad thought he was reckless. But his rich dad, he said, if you let the opinions of others run your life, you'll end up living their life, not yours. Here's the deal. Most Americans don't chase wealth not because they don't want it, but because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of stepping off the beaten path. But guess what? The beaten path is crowded and broke. The rich tune out the noise. They know people will criticize no matter what. Poor people criticize the rich for being greedy. The middle class criticizes them for being lucky. But the rich, they just keep building. Here's a thought. The people criticizing you are rarely doing better than you. Ever notice that? The loudest voices are usually coming from the sidelines, not the winners on the field. Chapter 12, The Real Definition of Wealth. Let's end with this one because it flips the whole game upside down. Most people think wealth means having millions in the bank, driving fancy cars, living in a mansion. That's Hollywood wealth. Rich Dad taught Robert something different. Wealth is simply this. How long could you survive if you stopped working today? Think about it. If your expenses are $3,000 a month and you've got $9,000 saved, you've got 3 months of wealth. If your assets produce $10,000 a month and your expenses are $4,000, you're infinitely wealthy because your money works harder than you do. See the shift? Wealth isn't a number, it's freedom measured in time. That's why assets matter so much. That's why financial literacy is non-negotiable. Because the goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to buy time. Time to live life on your terms. Let me ask you, if you stopped working today, how long could you keep your current lifestyle? A week? A month? A year? That number, not your income, not your salary. All right, if you made it this far, let me just say, you're not like most people. Most people click away, distract themselves, and keep living the same cycle. But not you. You stuck through this entire journey, which tells me one thing. You're hungry for change. You want more. And deep down, you know you're meant for more. Rich Dad. Poor Dad isn't just a book. It's a wake-up call. It's a mirror. It forces you to ask the question, am I building someone else's dream, or am I building mine? Listen, money by itself doesn't make you free. Cars, houses, shiny stuff. None of that is the point. The real goal is freedom. Freedom to wake up when you want. Freedom to be with the people you love. Freedom to live life on your terms. That's the game Rich Dad wanted Robert to play, and it's the game you can play too. But here's the thing. Nobody's coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not even a miracle lottery ticket. It's on you. And that's the most empowering truth you'll ever hear. Because the moment you take ownership of your future, the moment you decide to build assets, increase your financial IQ, and step into the Rich Dad mindset, that's the moment life changes forever. So I'll leave you with this. Don't just be a listener, be a doer. Apply what you learned today. Take one step, no matter how small, because success isn't built overnight. It's built step by step, choice by choice, investment by investment. And if this audiobook stirred something inside you, if it lit that spark, then stay close. Subscribe right now, because this channel is your community. This is where future millionaires are being built. And I want you in that circle. Remember this. The poor work for money. The rich make money work for them. And you're about to step into that rich mindset. This is your moment. This is your time. Don't waste it. Thanks for spending these hours with me. Stay hungry, stay fearless, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, go build your freedom.